The air inside the Calder Sector Defense Academy didn't just smell like ozone, it smelled like perfection. It smelled like 10,000 years of military doctrine distilled into a sterile, silent room where failure wasn't an option. It was a mathematical impossibility. At least, that was the idea. Range 1 was the place where the galaxy's elite came to prove they were deadly. You had the Vrexians, four-armed insectoids who treated warfare like a spreadsheet. You had the Hellcots, predators who could slow their heart rates to aim between heartbeats. And then, standing in lane 18, looking like she had stumbled into the wrong room while looking for a vending machine, was Recruit Voss. Now, ask yourself this. What does a lethal weapon look like? Chrome plating? Bioluminescent scales? Or does it look like a 5'6" primate in loose fatigues, chewing gum like she's bored? Recruit Voss was human. Earthborn. To the other 52 recruits, that word meant primitive. It meant a species that was still figuring out how not to blow itself up. The drill instructor, a battle-scarred Cathene named Scritch, watched her with his mandibles twitching in irritation. His carapace was covered in scorch marks from the Belly's War. He knew killers. And Voss? Voss looked like she was about to take a nap. Look at the mammal's grip. A Vrexian recruit named Sresh hissed from 2 lanes over. Sresh was the class prodigy. Perfect posture, perfect discipline. He nudged his partner. Thumbs forward, aggressive lean. She looks like she's holding a fruit, not a pulse rifle. His partner clicked a wet, guttural laugh. Earthborn. I heard they still use chemical propellants. Explosions in a tube. Barbarians. They weren't wrong, technically. Voss's stance was ugly. Her elbows were flared. Her weight was shifted aggressively forward, almost off balance. To an academy that taught static, dignified firing lines, she looked like a chaotic mess. Range hot. The automated system boomed. Qualification round. 15 targets, static position. 60 seconds. The air filled with the hum of charging capacitors. Sresh raised his rifle. His technique was art. Breath in, pause, squeeze, zap, target down, breath out, reposition. It was beautiful, if you like watching paint dry efficiently. But then, lane 18 erupted. It wasn't the rhythmic crack-pause-crack of military discipline. It was a drum solo of violence. Pop-pop, pop-pop, pop-pop-pop. Heads turned. Sresh blinked, his 4 eyes widening. The sound was wrong. It was too fast. It was frantic. It sounded like panic. Ceasefire! The silence rushed back in, heavier than before. The smoke cleared. Instructor Scritch walked down the line, checking screens. Lane 20, Sresh. 7 shots. 7 hits, 100% accuracy. Lane 12, Hellcot. 5 shots. 5 hits. Perfect grouping. Then he got to lane 18. Voss was already reloading, her hands moving in a blur that shouldn't be anatomically possible for a creature with only 2 arms. Scritch looked at the screen. He tapped it. He tapped it again, thinking it was a glitch. Recruit Voss. Scritch's voice sounded like grinding stones. Voss looked up, finger indexed safely along the barrel. A habit that looked sloppy but was actually safer than the academy standard. Yes, instructor? The test required you to neutralize targets, Scritch said, gesturing to the display. It did not require you to disintegrate them. The screen read, 15 targets, 32 hits. Accuracy, 89%. 32 rounds, Sresh muttered loud enough for the room to hear. She panicked. She sprayed the range. That's not marksmanship. That's waste. The class snickered. Of course. The human got scared and pulled the trigger until the scary lights stopped flashing. But Scritch wasn't laughing. He was looking at the target diagnostics. Double taps. Every single one. 2 shots, center mass, delivered so close together the computer almost registered them as a single impact. And the transitions? She hadn't stopped moving the gun. She didn't aim. Stop. Fire. She fired through the movement. Where did you learn to shoot, recruit? Scritch asked, stepping closer. The menace in his voice dropped, replaced by something far more dangerous. Curiosity. Voss shrugged. The universal human gesture for no big deal. My grandfather. He had a range. We went on weekends. For fun? Scritch clarified. Sure. He collected antique firearms. Said it was important to know the classics. The room went silent. Thresh scoffed. She's lying. That wasn't recreation. That was luck. Look at her stance. It violates every law of biomechanics in the manual. Thresh was right about one thing. It did violate the manual. But what Thresh didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the manual was written for soldiers who wanted to live. Voss's technique was written by a species that treated death like a high score, and she was about to prove it. The locker room was a breeding ground for rumors. By the time Voss racked her gear, the whispers had started. Earthborn. Savage. Lucky. Thresh wasn't content with whispers. He cornered her by the maglocks, towering over her with all 4 arms crossed. You embarrassed the instruction staff, Thresh said, his voice clicking with disdain. You turned a precision test into a brawl. 32 rounds? In a real firefight, you'd be out of ammo in seconds. Voss looked at him, unimpressed. In a real firefight, the guy you double-tapped isn't getting back up. The guy you shot once? He might... It's sloppy, Thresh snapped. I demand a correction. A real test. Not static targets. Range 3. The room went dead silent. Range 3 wasn't a qualification range. It was a nightmare simulator. Variable lighting, moving hostile holograms, obstacle courses. It was where careers went to die. You and me, Thresh challenged. My doctrine against your hobby. Voss smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who just realized the prey wandered into the cage willingly. Deal. Let's pause. You have to understand the arrogance of the Rexian mind. They believe in order. They believe if you follow the steps, A, B, C, you win. They don't understand chaos. And humans? We are born in chaos. We adopted the chaos. 10 minutes later, the observation deck of Range 3 was packed. Betting credits were flying. The odds were 5-1 against the human. Rules are simple, Instructor Scritch announced, watching from the control tower. Clear the course. Highest score wins. Speed is a multiplier. Thresh, you're up. The lights dimmed. Thresh entered the course. It was a masterclass. Truly. Thresh moved like a machine. He pied every corner. He checked every angle. Target left. Stop. Aim. Fire. Target down. Target right. Stop. Aim. Fire. Target down. He took cover behind every barrier. He reloaded behind safety. He was efficient, safe, and utterly predictable. Time, Scritch called. 2 minutes, 14 seconds. 100% accuracy. 0 damage taken. The recruits cheered. It was perfect. It was the textbook definition of a soldier. Beat that, Earthborn. Thresh sneered as he walked off, sweat glistening on his carapace. Voss stepped up. She cracked her neck. She checked her magazine. She widened that ugly, aggressive stance. Begin. Voss didn't walk. She exploded. She launched herself into the course. The first target popped up. She shot it while moving. She didn't stop to aim. Her gun was an extension of her eyes. Pop, pop. A target appeared behind her. She didn't turn her whole body. She pivoted at the hips, snapping the weapon back. Pop, pop. The recruits on the observation deck gasped. She's exposed, one shouted. She's not using cover. She didn't need cover. She was moving too fast for the targeting algorithms to lock on. She vaulted a barrier, firing one-handed midair, landing in a slide and putting 2 rounds into a target hidden under a table. Wait, did she just reload? Yes. She dropped the mag while sprinting, slammed a fresh one in, and racked the slide without losing a step. To the aliens, this was insanity. To a human? This was a Tuesday night USPSA league run. The lights cut out. Total darkness. Strobe lights flashed. Most species freeze in strobes to adjust their eyes. Voss timed her shots with the flashes. Flash. Bang. Flash. Bang. She was clearing the kill house faster than the holograms could spawn. The system started glitching, trying to keep up with her pace. She wasn't fighting the course. She was speedrunning it. Time. Voss slid across the finish line, smoke drifting from her barrel. She stood up, breathing hard but smiling. The scoreboard flickered. Time. 58 seconds. Accuracy. 94%. Targets neutralized. All of them. Plus 2 that hadn't fully spawned yet. Silence. Absolute, terrified silence. Thresh stared at the screen. His mandibles were trembling. That's not combat. That's madness. You moved like you had a death wish. Voss wiped sweat from her forehead. No, I moved like I was on a timer. Scritch came down from the tower. He looked at Voss, then at the replay of her run. He saw the thumb's forward grip. He saw the aggressive lean. And suddenly he didn't see a sloppy recruit. He saw a master. Where? Scritch whispered. Did you really learn that? The debriefing room felt like a funeral for military doctrine. Commander Thelvis, the academy head, was reviewing the footage. You're telling me, Thelvis said, looking at Voss, that this isn't military training? That you aren't a special forces operative? No, sir, Voss said. I'm a graphic designer back on Earth. Then explain this. Thelvis pointed at the screen where Voss was currently shooting 3 targets while jumping over a crate. Voss sighed. Commander, look at my planet. We have 400 million civilians who own firearms. We don't just own them. We play with them. We have sports, IPSC, 3-gun, cowboy action. We spend our weekends trying to shave 0.1 seconds off a reload time. Thresh stepped forward, his arrogance gone, replaced by horror. You weaponized boredom? You turned lethal combat into a game? Competition breeds innovation. Voss said simply, your doctrine is designed to keep soldiers alive. It's safe, it's cautious. But human doctrine? It's designed to win. And on Earth, if you're slow, you lose. We optimized violence because it was fun. Let that sink in. The alien empires spent eons studying war as a grim necessity. Humans? We spent our spare time perfecting the art of the double tap because we wanted to beat our cousin's high score. Scritch laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. We thought you were primitives because you still use projectile weapons. We didn't realize you never stopped using them because you perfected them. He turned to the class. Recruit Thresh followed the manual. He survived the course. Recruit Voss? She cleared the course. The manual assumes the enemy fights fair. Humans? He looked at Voss with a mix of fear and respect. Humans assume the enemy is just another target to beat. The mood in the room shifted. The Hellcots, the Rexians, the Katheen. They weren't looking at Voss like a savage anymore. They were looking at her like a live grenade that had walked into the room. Thelvis cleared his throat. Recruit Voss, your technique is unorthodox, but we cannot deny the results. You are hereby assigned to the Advanced Tactics Division. You will not be learning our doctrine. Voss raised an eyebrow. Sir? You will be teaching us yours. As Voss walked out of the hall, Thresh caught up to her. One question, the Rexian asked. You said you did this for fun. To beat your cousin. Did you? Voss paused at the door, silhouetted by the twin suns of Calder Prime. She grinned. Beat him? Thresh, I destroyed him. But you should see my grandmother. She shoots from the hip. Voss walked away, leaving the alien elite wondering just how many terrifying, gunslinging grandmothers were waiting back on Earth. Because that's the thing about humanity. We don't just survive the death world. We turn it into a playground. And heaven help the galaxy if they ever decide to interrupt our playtime.